going live just as I started coughing. It's like swallowed some water down the wrong pipe just as we started.
Perfect.
What's going on, brother?
Hey, how are you?
Doing all right.
Thanks for doing this. This is going to be enjoyable.
Yeah, it should be fun. How's the weather up there?
It is super cold, but no snow.
That's good. It's raining.
How about you? Do you have snow?
We never get snow. We get snow. We've had snow like twice in the last 2 decades. If we get snow, everything in here in Savannah, everything's canceled for like a week for 2 inches. There is literally not a single piece of snow removal equipment in this county.
I guess not. No.
So it's raining. It's cold. I mean, it's like 47 today. That's a cold day for us. How's the book launch going? Good.
Yeah, it's going well. How's yours?
Mine's a little older. It feels like it's been out for a month, given everything that's happened in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah,
and how long everything feels like. It feels like it came out a month ago.
Like first week of January, it'll be quiet. Like we won't have too many people, talking about other things. There won't be anything else to pay attention to. It's a great time to launch a book. So
you launched on Tuesday of this week. For anyone who doesn't know, Dan launched Tuesday of this week. That's great. I mean, just seriously, how much more messed up could it get?
I'm just, I'm glad because when you and I spoke, we were talking about when to schedule this, and we almost picked yesterday. So if we had done it yesterday, it would have been like, forget it. No one would have come to this and watched it.
That would have been bad. I'm in Georgia, man, so it's been crazy.
Yeah, right. So we would have had to like revisit that and reschedule anyway. So
yeah. Hey, Kaylee, how are you? Can you see the comments over there on your screen? There you go. There's Sarah.
Yes,
I just figure we'll give people like 2 or 3 minutes to show up before we start talking.
We should.
I don't know where we're going to cap out. We got 14 people watching right now. So there's Jamie and Jay Stories.
Jamie's supposed to be looking for that last egg piece. She should not be watching this.
I know where it is. Does she have? I bet I know where one is.
I think you might.
I might know where one is.
Try not.
Maybe you could probably find it if you looked in the right place. Or just.
That's what I keep telling her.
Is she missing the one that I think she's missing?
There are multiple people that are one away. And I'm sure they're going to be like stalking it to see if
for those who don't know what we're talking about, Dan did a promotional thing where he hit a bunch of pictures. Oh, you found that one. Jamie said she found that one. Dan hid 6 pieces to a dragon egg, and if you win, you get like free book stuff and a dragon. He's gonna genetically engineer a dragon for somebody.
Well, due to FDA regulations, I wasn't able to do that, but this is the dragon you win.
Yeah.
Isn't that cool?
That is pretty cool.
I decided to keep it. Unless I really didn't hide 6 pieces. And I'm just messing with everybody. No, I'm kidding. Kidding, Jamie.
Yeah, there's only 5 pieces hidden. I mean, I know there's one. I can guarantee one.
That would just be mean. That would be mean.
That would be mean.
I accidentally laid like false trails, and it wasn't on purpose. But I was going to put one on my Pinterest board because I love Pinterest, and that's not something that a lot of people would predict about me. But I was like, you can put one up on Pinterest, but they're too small. So I had renamed it like secret image or something. And when I posted it to Pinterest, it didn't show the picture. It just showed a frame that said like secret image. So it was like this weird, everyone's like, what is this thing on Pinterest? It said it's there, but it's not there. And then I was like, no, that was a mistake. And then I couldn't figure out how to delete it. So I laid some false trails.
I joined Pinterest because my editor made me.
What?
David. For the first book for PlanetSide, when we were doing cover, he's like, "Hey, make a Pinterest page with your ideas for what some of the stuff on the cover looks like." So I put it all in one place, and then they just did what they wanted anyway, and it was good. So they did it's a good job. They did a good job. I'm not complaining. I mean, my input to my book covers is like, I want space. And then they're like, so they hire an artist and he makes this great thing.
Yeah, it's true. It's one of these things about that no one tells you until you're on the inside about the publishing game. First of all, like the cover and everything on the outside, it's totally the publisher's final call on everything.
It is. It
Sometimes if
is.
they're nice, like I know David is, like they will send you what they have. That usually it's like a done cover, and they're like,
Colony,
"Oh,
yeah, they did
this is
that.
the
Yeah.
cover that someone worked really hard on to make for your book. What do you think?" And of course, you're like, "Oh, it's awesome."
Colonyside, actually, I gave them the idea. I told them exactly what I wanted. I told them I want a jungle scene, with a vehicle going through, and we talked about what the vehicle would look. The vehicle didn't come out quite right, but I mean, when they sent me a picture of it, I'm like, that's exactly what I described, except good.
No, it's very cool. That's my favorite cover of yours. And,
Yeah, I've had very good luck. The same guy did the art. Sebastian Way does the art. He's great. I don't talk to him. We go through a middleman, but he's done the art. He did the Planetside art and the Colonyside art for whatever reasons. Like some intern in the graphics department did the Space Side art. So didn't turn out that good. All right. Well, I think we're ready to go. We've been going for like 6 minutes. So let me ask you some questions, man.
Yeah, go for it.
So domesticating dragons. Just tell us a little bit what it's about.
Oh, well, this book is science fiction, and the basic premise is that this genetic engineer goes to work for a company that makes living, breathing dragons, like customizable dragons, for use in the home or as pets or as service animals. And the reason being that there was a pandemic that wiped out almost all the canines, so there are no dogs basically out in the world. And so this company decides to fill all those roles with dragons, like the pet, the police animal, the emotional support animal. They're all dragons, right? So this guy goes to work for the company and gets to design dragon, basically the whims of the customers that want different kinds of dragons, and trying to figure out how can they create a dragon that will do what this dog used to do or something like that. So that was a bit, so it became something like Build-A-Bear Workshop meets Jurassic Park in the end. And that's kind of the basic setup.
Yeah, and I've read it, obviously a while back. It's been a while, so I don't remember everything about it. But so where's the idea come from? Did you start with, I mean, you're a geneticist, right? Yeah. So did it come from your work, or did you just start with like Jurassic Park and then think, what would people really do?
Well, it's funny. I mean, I love Jurassic Park, and obviously, having read that as a kid, that was always like in my mind. It's like, wow, wouldn't that be cool if such a thing happened? Unfortunately, as much as I do love it, DNA cannot last long periods of time, even if it's encased in amber. So that isn't going to happen, I'm afraid, exactly like that. But because I work in genetics, rapidly evolving field, and we have the capability to do incredible things now, like with DNA and genetics. So I thought it'd be cool if we took that technology a little bit forward, and what would we do with it? And of course, because of my day job, there are all kinds of things people are hoping to do for human health and medicine and things. But because I'm a fantasy and sci-fi author, I'm also like, but also, what if we made dragons or something cool with it?
It's totally realistic, by the way. Like once the technology exists, it's going to exist for fun before it exists for I mean, maybe for like high-end medicine, but someone's going to figure out a way to make money on it, like really fast.
There is, I mean, and there you can already see that there are ways to encode information in nucleic acids now. And so because there's no real practical application for it yet, people are just doing it to encode fun little messages and stuff. And it's just people playing around with the cool cutting edge science before it becomes real mainstream, actual worthwhile applications. So.
Yeah, and I think that's great. So this is with Bain.
Yes.
Right? Yeah. So how's your experience been with them so far?
Oh, it's I'm glad you asked. It's been really cool. I mean, I was with another publisher before. We were publisher siblings, and Bain Books is an independent publishing house. They're distributed by a major publisher, but they have I've been following them since I was a teenager, because they obviously put out a ton of books that were science fiction, and they do a lot of stuff that's kind of writing community, sci-fi community. And then they just have this really stellar reputation for science fiction. And so I was very excited when they were interested in the book, and I thought it would be a really neat project to do with them. And it's neat because they're not a massive publishing conglomerate. I mean, they're a well-established publishing house, but they don't have hundreds of authors. It's kind of like a smaller family.
Yeah. They're more in my line of work than yours.
Authors, they set up a Discord server for all of us to kind of meet and get to know one another. And it's really fun interacting with people that are much more established and famous than me, and talking about sci-fi. And the people at Bain that I've been working with have been really cool. So I've been super happy with the experience. And they make pretty books too. I will give them that.
They do. They're more in my line than yours normally. When you think Bain, you think military science fiction.
I do, yeah. Honor Harrington, it's their big series. And it's kind of this running joke between us that I end up going to this house. It's totally like your bread and butter type of house, and you're not. So I don't know, keep like trading places like that. But yes, not everybody can have their friend who used to be a mentee, like be the person to blurb the front of the book on the book cover. So
yeah, that was pretty cool.
I think I've won.
The student has become the master.
Right. I don't
know if people even know that's how we met.
Not. And I think I almost wanted to go in the Pitch Wars group and be like, hey, I know like everyone's had a successful mentor, but has anyone else had their like mentee go on and then they're blurbing your book and their name on the cover? Because I don't think that's happened yet.
Yeah, I don't know. It's cool though. That getting your name on the cover of someone else's book is like, I don't know. It's beyond weird. It's just surreal. It's happened twice now. One, they didn't even tell me. Harper put my name on a book, and it was because they liked a comment. It had nothing to do with me.
Well, with me, obviously, it was the fact that you weren't a total failure. And when the time came to like think about putting a cover blurb on the front, it kind of had to be somebody that like had time to read the book or had read it. Not that many people had read like early versions. I was like, I know one person that's read it, and he writes in the right genre, especially for the Bain audience. I was like, how about this? And so they were like, sure, fine.
It's no Jack Campbell. I got Jack Campbell on my first cover. That's pretty cool. All right, first question. We had a question about your book. Jay Stories wants to know, no dogs. Why did you kill all the dogs?
Not all of them, just most of them, and related species. So I'm sorry to say the wolves and the coyotes took a hit too. And I'm a dog owner. I feel bad about it, okay? But the reason being that when I was working on this book, like some of my early readers were like, okay, this is cool, this is neat and all, but realistically, like, why would this company even exist? And I was like, they can make dragons. And they would say, yeah, I know, but why would they exist? And I said, I don't understand the question. I just told you they can make dragons. You heard that, right? And realistically, we needed some way for the economics to work out, for a company to be able to make money, and for a reason for them to design a bunch of different kinds of dragons other than like scientists having fun. We do need somebody to pay the bills. So I just came up with this idea, and I just want to point out it was well before the real world pandemic had happened. Things like this that wipe out much of an animal species are more common than a lot of people realized. And I was thinking about there's a contagious cancer that has decimated Tasmanian devil populations. I don't know if you have heard much about that.
I don't think anyone cares, man.
Tasmanian
people in Tasmania. All right, hold on. We got one more dragon question. Here you go. Will the dragon clean my house?
Hey, you know what? You put in the request. I don't see why not.
Yes, dragons doing everything in here, right? So they become police dogs. They're guard dogs.
Yeah. Some
of them are violent. They're also like pets for rich people.
Oh yeah, of course, because any animal that we can make, there's gonna be rich people are gonna find a way to make it like somewhat exorbitant and also pointless. So that of course happens here. And I do see that some people want to say, why don't I just kill off the cats? I wish I'd thought of that, but I knew it would not have
the same effect. It would in our house.
The same effect, and also, quite honestly, I'm more afraid of cat people than I am of dog people.
We're cat people. We have a cat, so.
I mean, there are some cat people out there that I just couldn't risk offending. So
that's fair. I mean, John Wick, though, man, John Wick's coming for you. He killed his dog.
Okay, so welcome to other people who have joined. Thanks for coming. So yeah, so that's my book. It's came out earlier this week. Mike's name is on the cover because he said nice things about it.
Most important thing going on this week.
Yes, it's the only thing that matters that has happened this week that matters for the future. So that's my book. Now let's talk about your book, which came out as of a week and a half ago or something.
Yeah, Tuesday a week ago. So 1 week before yours, Colonyside. So for me, this is the third book in the series, the third and final book in the series. It's a trilogy. I don't really call it a trilogy, but the book is Colonyside. The first book in the series was Planetside, and the second book was Spaceside. Then we had to come up with another side. We were not going to make a side title for this because Colonyside is just a ridiculous title. Like, it's just ridiculous, right? But so David and I, my editor and I agreed, hey, we're going to make this something new. We're not going to do the side title. We don't have to. And we sent it off, and then marketing was like, no, this will be a side title. Come back. So that's how we got it to be Colonyside. And it's the third book. It's the third book in a series that follows a crusty old veteran named Colonel Carl Butler, who seems to get himself into a lot of trouble and solves missing person mysteries, mostly, give or take. There's no one really missing in book 2, but in book 1 and book 3, he's solving missing person mysteries. People call it military science fiction sometimes. It's probably not quite military science fiction. It's more like a mystery thriller set in a military science fiction setting. So he's around the war, but it's really not about the wars. I mean, Colonyside certainly isn't about a war. There's no war going on whatsoever. But there is a military presence on this colony. There's a colony established on this distant mining planet of about 30,000 people. They live in domes still because the planet's not ready for human existence yet. And some people like that it's not ready, and some people don't. So there's a little bit of an environmentalist theme in there. It's not too heavy-handed or anything, but I figure people are still going to be fighting about planets in the future, whether it's our planet or somebody else's planet. They'll be fighting over it. So they're doing that. And meanwhile, someone has gone missing, and she happens to be the daughter of a really, really rich dude, like Jeff Bezos rich. Like Jeff Bezos's daughter goes missing, who's presumed dead. He doesn't believe the people who've looked into it, and he wants this famous guy, Carl Butler, to go look into it. And then things happen.
Yeah. So now something I haven't asked you, but I'm curious about is you have these mystery elements. So are you just like a closet mystery fan, a mystery reader, or is that just how these things evolve for you?
I do read them. Accident, man. It happened on accident. I can't stop. It just happens. I start writing a story, and it just gets more and more messed up. The mystery stuff, though, I mean, with Planetside, the mystery stuff just kind of, I pantsed that entire book. I started it with a setting. I had the setting. I knew I wanted the set. I knew what the setting looked like. Okay. And then I came up with a character, and I got the voice. I stole the voice from Gillian Flynn, from Gone Girl. And this she's got this first person voice, and that's what I had in my head. And then I didn't have a story. It just kind of developed. And as it turns out, people were doing nefarious things on the planet, and it kind of became a mystery. And then now I write them. So.
It's funny that you say it's not really military sci-fi because I read it. I'm like, this is so like steeped in military sci. I mean, it may
Yeah.
not be like constant spaceships blowing up military sci-fi, but pretty much everyone you meet is military or military adjacent.
Here's what we got from Dan.
I'd like that comment, Dan.
Yeah, we could do that.
Yeah, that'll be our collaboration project.
Here's another good comment. Here we go. Is Carl Butler like the old crusty Nancy Drew of the science sci-fi market?
Very much so, yeah.
Yeah, that's probably good.
You should have.
I should have used that for a blurb. Cool. I wish I could have that. Cool. My granddaughter the other day called me a rusty old man.
Rusty?
Oh. You're a rusty old man. It was funny.
Better than crusty.
Yeah, let's see if there's some more questions. Hold on, I got one more. I'm trying to go back. I'm gonna find it. Let's see.
I want to share this one.
Okay, go ahead.
He read your book on his honeymoon, so I think that's a compliment.
Dude, that's on you, man. That's your issue. I didn't read any books on my honeymoon.
We're not going to delve into that issue and probe.
No, now I'm old. When we go on vacation now, I read lots of books, but. Let's see. Did the same artist do all 3 covers? Yeah, sort of. The same artist did book 1 and book 3, and I think he did the spaceship in book 2, but he didn't do the whole cover. But he did Planet. Sebastian Way did PlanetSide and COLONYSIDE. So let's see. All right. So this is the time where we're supposed to take audience questions. Here's one.
Jamie asked one already. She's ahead of the game.
Yeah, she did. There you go.
She said, what are your favorite sci-fi tropes? I'm going to let you start.
Oh, wow. Favorite. I like anything that has an AI in it, like an evil, especially if it's an evil AI, or not necessarily evil, but rogue. Like it's not under control and it's got its own agenda and you may or may not know about it. That's probably my favorite right now. And I'm trying to think of books where that's happened. Velocity Weapon. There's an AI that's in the ship that's really, really good. I love the AI in Becky Chambers, the second one, A Closed and Common Orbit. That was really good.
Yeah, Resident Evil. I like the AI in Resident Evil.
Oh, yeah, that's true, too. I like that.
Yeah, that's a good trope. I like the I sort of like the remnants of old ships and haunted empty places trope. That's like something you read in, especially in like space sci-fi, like that thing where people go in and it's like old abandoned.
I have one. I have that. That's one of my pitches.
Oh, really?
A haunted spaceship book.
Yeah.
Let's see. Here we got. Do you have any thriller or mystery recommendations? I do. Kristen Lepianka's books. The first one, there's 4 of them. It's the Roxanne Weary series. It's trying to think. The first one is The Last Place You Look is the first one. And that series, she writes like me. She's a friend of mine. But she writes like me. Like if you took Carl Butler and then made him into a gay cop, a lesbian cop, then that would be Roxanne Weary. So she writes in a very similar style to me. They're great books. Let's see what else we got. Did you see that show Next? No. I don't know what it is. Did you?
It's Bradley Whitford. I haven't seen it.
I haven't either. We're watching Orphan Black right now.
It's about AI. Yeah.
Oh, wow. I'll probably like it.
We're watching Bridgerton right now, so.
Oh.
We have to address this team enemies to lovers.
Yeah, I saw that. I am neither.
I'm enemies to lovers, and actually, there is that romantic plot sub arc in my book.
That's true. Yeah. Yeah, Dan wrote romance. There is no romance in my books, so I am neither. However, my 4th book has a little bit of an enemies to lovers.
Now, wait. When you said there's no romance, at least in the version of COLONYSIDE I read, there was kissing.
Oh, is there kissing?
Is the kissing gone?
There's no kissing in Planet COLONYSIDE.
I don't know. Oh, maybe I'm thinking of your other book that we haven't talked about yet. Maybe that's
Yeah. No, that one there's kissing. Yeah. There's kissing in
But
that one. And it is enemies to lovers.
we'd all be concerned because his wife is not with him, so that would be a problem.
Yeah, no, his wife left him, so he's on. I mean, he got divorced in book 2, which made my wife really, really happy. By the way, she was really
happy. Oh,
she was not excited that we got rid of the wife character.
Oh wow, yeah.
She wasn't.
You being in some hot water over that.
It wasn't great. Let's see. Carl Butler is Philip Marlowe in the future. I appreciate that. That's a very big compliment. Someone's talking about the Lumine files, but I'm not sure why. I'm trying to see what else. Let's see what we got. Where do you think the line is between hard sci-fi and just kind of hand-waving at science concepts? Somewhere in where I write. Dan writes harder sci-fi than I do.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, I think I don't write the super duper hard sci-fi stuff. I mean, this book has a lot more of the hard sci-fi because it draws on my experience, like in real world genetics, and there are real aspects of like my day-to-day work and like research questions that are in the book, which makes it the most hard sci-fi thing I've got. But also, like, if I have learned from experience in social situations that not everyone is nearly as excited about that kind of stuff as I am. So I'm trying to like limit myself, and have a little bit of that. I think you also have to have really good storytelling. Like the more hard sci-fi you put in, the more great story and characterization you got to have to kind of balance it out and keep the readers engaged, especially if they're not into hard sci-fi stuff. So, and I know you hand wavy.
I hand wave everything except the combat.
Oh, well, that's true.
That's pretty real.
Your combat is
and it's not really sci-fi, I mean, I write where I've been and what I know.
From your experience, so that's
yeah. So but it's not the sci-fi part. I mean, the sci-fi part. The great part about my book is I write it in the single person point of view, and my guy doesn't know anything. He doesn't know science. He knows I get on the ship, I get on a spaceship, I go to sleep, I wake up, I'm at the other end. And that's as much as he knows because it's always been that way. It would be like you thinking about the science of an elevator. You don't ever think about how an elevator works. You know that you get in, you push the button, you go to the floor you want, and you get off. And that's how he treats that technology because that's, that's all it means to him. It's just a means to an end. It's
it was a clever shortcut by you.
It was definitely an intentional shortcut. I am trying to write a little more tech into my next book, so we'll see how that goes. But let's see what else we got here.
Go to Clay's comment next.
What's that?
Go to Clay here.
Oh, you do it.
All right.
Oh, good question.
About my blog, because I have like science and sci-fi series. Can it be harder to suspend your disbelief? I think it's not hard for me when writing it. It's harder on me when I'm reading or watching somebody else's story and like the science or tech is so poorly done. That's what really bothers me. With my stuff, I try and decide what I'm going to try and make real and what I'm just going to totally make up and hand wave. And I sort of make a decision and I just go with it. And so that doesn't hold me back at all because I also write fantasy and all that's just totally anyway, right? So it's mostly like as a reader, it bothers me when like I feel the balance is wrong or when the science is just so poorly done. That's when it bothers me.
I get the same way with military stuff. Like if I'm watching a military show and their uniforms aren't right, it's over. I mean, I can't. My wife hates it because I'll be like, this is just stupid. That's it.
Tell me an example of what's wrong with a uniform in a show that you see.
Oh, I can't even think of one off the top of my head. When it happened. I mean, the worst one ever. The worst military story ever, as far as people think, oh, it's so real, was it won an Oscar. I can't remember the name of it. It was set in Baghdad, The Hurt Locker. It was horrible. I literally turned it off after 20 minutes. I'm like, this is so fake. I mean, put it this way. It opened with a scene and it said Baghdad. Baghdad, I think it was, February 2000 or March 2004. I'm like, that's not Baghdad in March 2004 because I was in Baghdad in March 2004. And that's not at all what was happening. They're in the wrong uniform to start. They had the newer uniform that came on a year and a half later. And I just couldn't watch it. It was fake. So that happens a lot. I try not to watch modern war movies. I don't watch too many. Historical war movies I love.
Yeah,
Like,
it's funny because people always ask me like, "Oh, do you watch this show with all the genetic stuff?" And I'm always like, "No,
absolutely not." Yeah.
I was like, no. Oh, hi, Brenda. We see you.
Who's here? Somebody's asking for Sheetside. I'm not even entertaining that. Let's see. Here we go. Are there any genres that are completely different from what you've already written that you'd like to write a book in? I want to write fantasy. I mean, which is significantly different, but not. I probably won't. I tried. I started off as a fantasy
You have
writer.
written fantasy, yeah.
And the first book I ever wrote was fantasy. When I submitted the Pitch Wars in 2014, I sent you a fantasy book. You didn't like it.
It was like 180,000 words.
It was a lot. It was long. It was not good either.
You know what? I'm pretty sure that all worked out. But now, for me, I think I would like to write. If I could do anything, I would write kids' books, mostly because I read to my kids a lot, and I wish I, could do that. But I also know that it would be hard for me to do that. So it's something I still think about sometimes. But yeah, that's something I would venture into. And I mean, I've dabbled with like some of that. I know a lot of my friends, many of the people in the comments here write young adult or NG, and I tip my hat to them. I think it'd be cool to try sometime.
I can't even write short stories, man. I tried. I got rejected for my own anthology. It's pretty impressive. You got to work hard. Like, they asked me to be in it, and I still got rejected. It was pretty impressive. All right, I got a question. Background in the military. I served 27 years as an Army officer. I retired as a colonel, which, may be similar to Carl Butler. People ask me how much of that is me. Maybe 5%. Because like when I get stuck in a book, I do think when I'm writing Carl Butler, I do think, well, what would I do? And then I have him do that, but like, way crazier.
That's interesting. And so I am not an expert in military ranks, but if I'm not mistaken, since you made it to colonel, at one time you were Major Michael Mammay. Is that true?
I was.
I bet that was pretty fun.
It was okay. It was okay. I was there for a while. Here's an answer. So that makes sense.
Yes, it does. But
we should have known. We should have known that one.
It's not out yet. No, they're good friends of ours, so they don't beat us to the punch because mine's already out. But yes, that is true. We're not the only ones, I should say.
And I have to put this up because Brenda's here, and Brenda's royalty. So it's in our contract that we always have to.
Yeah. Anything she tells us to do, we must do.
That's pretty much it.
On the contract, the Pitch Wars mentor contract would scare you. Let's just say that.
It is. I mean, I did not think I was going to have to give up my kid, but
yeah, but it lasts the life of copyright. So what are you going to do?
Yeah, that's true. Okay. So Kaylee, I did see this before, but we were delaying on jumping into this topic. And because we wanted to get through stuff on the current books before we did that, but I think we can go there now.
Yeah. Hold
on, I'm going to come right back to this because I got one more here. All right, who would play Carl Butler in a movie? People in my fan group were asking each other this the other day, and what did they come up with? I'm trying to remember. So in my mind, when I wrote it, it was like a younger Bruce Willis. Okay, but that certainly wouldn't work now. And also Denzel Washington, right? Because Carl Butler could be black, because I specifically never mentioned it in the book. And when I specifically never mentioned it in the book, it was exactly so that Denzel Washington could play him in the movie. Yes. Because if Denzel Washington would play him, then why would you not?
If you can cast Denzel, you should.
You do, because he's awesome. Maybe Tom Hardy could do it if you wanted to play him a little younger. But Butler's old, so any of the older male actors, you could probably pull in. I don't know. I don't think it's going to be a movie because of the way the first book ends. Doesn't really make for a very good movie. So no, I didn't really think about it beyond that. Okay, so I'll go back to that. Okay, so Dan, what are you working on next?
So right now I'm actually working on a nonfiction project. So that's something else I do. I have this ongoing blog series, Science and Sci-Fi, Fact and Fantasy. And a few years ago, we developed the science and sci-fi part of that into this book, putting in science and fiction right there. And so that was really cool. It's like expert writing advice from scientists and engineers and doctors and such. But we were fortunate to pitch another book to Writer's Digest books that's going to be the fantasy side. So as like historians and linguists and martial arts experts, veteran soldiers. So Mike's a contributor to this, which I'm excited about, all sharing their expertise as it applies to fantasy writing. So that reminds me, your deadline's in March, Mike.
Oh, shit. Oh, sorry. Yeah. All right. I'll get to that. I'm a little behind on things right now, but I mean, I've already written them, so it shouldn't be that hard. Yeah. I write some military history things for those. And those are good. I love science and sci-fi. I have it. I use it all the time for when I'm writing. I mean, I use it as a reference. I mostly use the website, but I have the book and
yeah, no, I mean, feel free. And one of my favorite things about this book is that Chuck Wendig wrote the foreword. And if you follow Chuck Wendig or know his blog or his writing, it is very Chuck Wendig, and it's worth the cost of the book by itself. Quite honestly, I mean, it's hilarious. And so, we always do, like, as part of persuading a publisher to publish something that is a blog. We always do some articles that are only in the book, and there will always be some good ones. But the website, just like, the blog series continues to grow, and we can do things like linked from this. If you like this person's article on this, you should go see this person's article on that. And so, because I have a lot of contributors that come back and do 2 or 3 or 4 articles, yourself included.
Yeah. It's great to me. I like it because they're just enough. So, I mean, they're written by writers, so it's very much in a vein of, hey, what do you know about this? What do you need to know about this subject to include it in your book without actually knowing anything? Which pretty much sums up how I write. I mean, I don't want to read the Scientific American page on it. I want a 1,500 word, very easy to understand thing that, hey, how's this going to work? Because it generates ideas. Or I just ask Jason Nelson. Those are my two go-tos.
And the thing is, the people that write those, it's not just anyone. Like, I go and find somebody that really is an expert and not a Wikipedia expert, because I think that helps, because I can be like, okay, let's talk about your field. Tell me the things that, like, people always screw up and get wrong, and we're going to make that the first half of the article, like, don't do this. And then I'll be like, now tell me about the, like, super cool, subtle things that people could do well in their book. And you'd be like, okay, this person really knows their stuff. And that's the second half. That's kind of the structure of these articles. So it's just teaching you enough to be dangerous.
Yeah. And it teaches things. The science and sci-fi one is great because it makes you think about things in a way that you wouldn't necessarily think about them. Like, I think there was one on communications and how we're going to communicate in the future. And the ideas that it generates, like, because when we think, oh, my phone will just be cooler. Well, if you think about the iPhone, just take the iPhone and what it can do now versus what the iPhone 3 could do, which is what, 15 years ago, so 15 years in one company have gone from this to this, or go from the flip phone. I mean, the flip phone to the iPhone in 25 years. That what happens in 100? I don't know, but it's and you can get some ideas from these folks. and it makes your tech cooler, it makes your sci-fi cooler, and then the new one will make your fantasy cooler.
Yeah, right. And we have some of my contributors to the blog series are here in the audience, so thank you. We see you.
Oh, that's cool. You got any other fiction projects working? Go ahead.
I was going to ask you what you're doing.
Oh, I'm struggling, man. I'm struggling to write right now. I turned my 4th book into Harper Voyager, into my publisher in December.
That's the one with the kissing.
That is the one with the kissing. That is called Misfits. And the idea of it came from my favorite military movie of all time, which was Kelly's Heroes. So in Kelly's Heroes, and if you haven't watched Kelly's Heroes, just go watch Kelly's Heroes. It's great. It's Clint Eastwood, like young Clint Eastwood before he was batshit crazy. And Donald Sutherland plays Oddball. And it's this group of guys, they learn that there's some Nazi gold hidden in a bank behind enemy lines. So they decide that they're going to go rob the bank. They're going to take some tanks, they're going to get some soldiers, and on their own, just these enlisted soldiers, not part of the war, they're just going to go cross the German lines during World War II, fight their way through and rob the bank. So that was the idea for it. And for me, I mean, I didn't want to make my guys, I wanted to make them a little more sympathetic than robbing a bank. So in my book, one of their friends is left behind in a combat zone, and the command will not go back and get him. So they decide, hey, we're going to steal a dropship. We're going to fly down to the planet, and we're going to get it. We're going to go rescue him. And that's the premise for that book. It's very much lighter than the PlanetSide, COLONYSIDE books, but it's in a similar style, first person style, younger characters.
I'm curious to ask you, because we're going to talk a little bit about like book promotion type stuff and what you've been doing. And it's funny because when we were preparing for this conversation, I was like, yeah, and I might talk about this, thing that I'm doing or show this thing. And then every time I would say something like that, Mike would be like, oh, cool, but I'm not doing that. This is book 3. I'm not doing anything at all.
Let's talk about that. Let's talk about the difference between the first book in the series and the 3rd book.
You have a 3rd book in the series, and marketing subsequent books in the series is something they don't tell you. It's very challenging because you really can't do too much to somebody that hasn't read the earlier books. You almost
it's hard.
Series, right?
Yeah.
Talk about that. So what have you done, and how was it different for you?
Well, there's a few things. First, you get a lot less help. Yeah. Like the publisher, you're kind of on your own, right? The publisher doesn't do as much for the 3rd book. They don't do as much for the 3rd book as they do for the first one, for the same reason that you don't, is because most of the people who picked up COLONYSIDE did it because they had read PlanetSide and SpaceSide and liked them and were waiting on it. I mean, the pre-orders, I sold more COLONYSIDE pre-orders than I sold PlanetSide books in the first week, of PlanetSide books. They had already sold because people knew that they wanted them. And so then you're looking at a lot of word of mouth. People start talking about COLONYSIDE because it's coming out and they're waiting on it, and people hear about it and they're like, hey, well, what's that? And then they just go to book 1 because, Amazon, for all their evils, is really, really good at telling you what book number it is in the series.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
And that's kind of your strategy. Whereas, for a new book, new series, I think you have a lot more avenues. There's also kind of, there's a little more, I'd say, the advantage of marketing a subsequent book in a series is that you have a good chance of getting the people who've read the other books. Hopefully they find out about it. Hopefully they're going to want to keep reading in the series. The advantage of marketing something new, like my book that came out, is it's a fresh slate and it's a different idea usually. And so sometimes it's a little easier to get real estate. Like can you ask for a guest post, or you ask for, an interview or something like that, people are kind of excited to have you come talk about a new idea. And so like I definitely benefited from that, going to like starting a new series, and it's kind of a different genre too. I think that helped. There were more.
Yeah, I saw you on John Scalzi's page. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, no, we were like we were 1 week after another, which was really neat. And that for both of us, obviously, John Scalzi's blog it's so huge to get a shot at writing an essay for him, because you get like huge.
Oh, that literally that sells books. Period. That more than anything else that you could do as a science fiction or fantasy writer. If you're on his blog, people will look at your book and buy it because they saw it there. And you will probably get more eyes from that than any other thing that you can do. And he just does it for free. So he's pretty cool like that. Yeah, it's hard though with your first book, man, because so much of it doesn't matter how good the book is, because if no one finds it, it can be great. I've read very, very good books that didn't go anywhere. Very good books, better than anything I've written. And they just didn't go anywhere because the audience didn't find them. And it's super frustrating, I think, as an author with a book one. With book three, it's a lot less. Like I have a really, really good idea of how many people are going to buy book three, because I can look at the sales of book two.
Especially book three, book three. By the time book two to three, the read-through is usually pretty high. Yeah.
Because if they went through two, and I didn't piss them off completely with the ending of Speyside, then they're back for three. Let's see. We got some other questions if you want, or do you want to talk about another book? Are you writing anything else?
Am I writing anything else?
Yeah. What are you working on now?
I can't talk about it yet. So.
Okay.
What about
I'm working on right now. I'm writing a book called The Weight of Command. And it is literally the worst thing I've ever written, and I hate myself. So I don't really want to talk about it.
That's where you are.
I'll pull up this. I'll pull up the question. Has a pandemic affected your writing habits? I hate myself. I hate everything about writing, and I just want to quit.
Yeah.
This book is not coming together.
It's rough out there. It's hard to write when there's like so much going on. So here, I'll give you an interesting anecdote though. In the world of like science and academia, it's actually this opposite effect, because I spoke to some editors of like scientific journals and stuff in October, and I was always asking them, just how's it going and how are things and how are your submissions of stuff, and they're all like slammed. They're like, we have so many submissions. The reason being that in March and April, all the scientists got sent home. And like, weren't in meetings, and like we all finally had time to write the paper that we were supposed to be writing for the last 2 years or so. So like everyone had like these 2 months to write papers, and they're just all going out. Like all these papers are finally going out. So it's kind of a weird counter effect because due to the pandemic. But that's scientific publishing. That's not creative writing. Creative writing, I think sometimes worldwide scenarios like this just make it. It's just hard to get out under the weight of it and get stuff done.
Yeah. I couldn't write this week, not with all this stuff going on. That wasn't really pandemic stuff, but all right, here's one. Can you talk about point of view? So talk about domesticating dragons. Talk about point of view from that.
Yeah, I'm glad that's one of my favorite things is that I got to play the mic card and write in first person point of view for domesticating dragons, and I really like it. It's not, in science fiction and fantasy, in some genres, especially like fantasy, first person is not very common. It's common in especially young adult and some other categories, but in like epic fantasy, traditionally that's always third person, and that's what my first 3 books were. But this one, I don't know, it was always first person, and I liked the way the voice sounded, and so I enjoyed it. And of course, Mike, all your books are first person, right? Even your new ones that you've been working on.
All 5, yeah. The 3 that are published and the 2 that are coming are all first person. I have a third person book that I want to write. I think that I want to write it next. We will see if anyone will let me write it. I can write it if I want. I don't know if anyone will pay me for it. So that may be an economic decision.
The thing I think that was, that'll be interesting to see how you tackle is when you're in first person point of view, you kind of get for free the intimacy with the point of view
Yeah.
character. Like you're in their head, you're in their body and stuff, and you feel that. And so you usually like feel really close to that character right off the bat. In third person, you don't get the freebie.
You have to work at it. Yeah, you got to work for it.
So it's like I did struggle with that a little bit, and even like my elder helped me like work on that very early.
One tip that somebody gave me on that was if you're struggling in a certain place, write the scene in first person, and then switch it to third.
Oh, that's interesting.
And keep the thoughts. Yeah, I don't know if it works. I haven't tried it yet, but we'll see. I may or may not be able to write in third person. I think I can, but I thought I could write short stories too, and that didn't work out. So, you know, it may. I don't know. I'm not sure.
Do you want to go to Kat's other question? Any book recs?
Oh, book recs. I mean, I'm always up for book recs. 2021. I wrote a blog post that came out this morning on michaelmammay.com where I talked about the eight biggest sci-fi and fantasy debuts of 2021. So if you're interested in debut authors and you want adult sci-fi and fantasy, so if you go to my blog, which is at michaelmammay.com, it's just my name, .com. And I've got, I think, 8 books listed there. I have not obviously read them all. The one that I read that I really liked is called The Last Watch. And it's The Last Watch is a book. Imagine the Black Watch or the Night Watch from Game of Thrones, except in space. So they're out on the frontier of space watching the boundary of known space. And then something happens. And I got a chance to, I mean, I blurbed it. I got a chance to read it late last year. It comes out in April. It's really good. And then other books, the books that I'm excited about right now are actually out. They came out in December. Fires of Vengeance, Evan Winter. It's a fantasy book I'm really looking forward to coming up here real soon. I'm reading Foundry Side, which is, you know, I'm a year late on that. I'm trying to think of 2021 books that are coming out. But really those, I really covered it in that blog post. If
I like, there's one coming out later this month called The Mask of Mirrors. It's M.A. Carrick, Carrick. And that's actually a pen name for Marie Brennan and Alice Helms. And so it's coming out. It's going to be a really cool series. Like I've heard a little bit about it because I know both of them, but that's going to be a really neat series too. It's coming out later this month, I believe.
Let's see. We've got some first person. The Raven Tower. Somebody said The Raven Tower. That's definitely a big one. Let's see what else we got. Hold on. No question. Sonia just wanted to say hi. That's Sonia. She's got books coming out in 2021. I think she's got 2 of them, doesn't she?
Yeah, we were talking about it earlier, and she's just letting us know she's here and listening. So
yeah, so we're gonna plug her books. She's got a couple. I don't remember the names of them.
Yeah, she's got like,
I'm sorry. I own one of them.
She has like 5 coming out.
She does have like 2 or 3 books coming out this year. Yeah. But I own one of them. We have the Have a Little Faith is one of her books.
Yeah. And, you know, if you're going to make friends with authors, you should make friends with authors that you know are going to go on and become more successful than you. I just highly recommend it. So
it's always a good idea.
Who I live by. So.
See, I just finished a book in second person. It was so good. Oh, you were reading a book in second person. I don't even know. N.K. Jemisin gets to write in second person in science fiction and fantasy, and nobody else, as far as I'm concerned. That's hard. I would never try that. That is beyond my literary capability.
Yeah. Raven Tower, is that Ann Leckie?
Yeah. There's The Mask of Mirrors. Well, Domesticating Dragons.
Yeah.
Just thought I'd put that up there.
Yeah.
Is that your book? Is your bookshop in your chat?
I have no idea how that got there. I think I gave too many people control of my Facebook.
I don't know. It's pretty cool.
Gotten away.
Sarah put it up there too.
Yeah, Ann Leckie, he actually.
Oh, Heartbreak for Hire. That's Sonia's book. That's right. I couldn't remember.
Ann Leckie lived in St. Louis. Jamie and I met her actually. So she's a super nice lady, but it's kind of funny when I grew up in St. Louis and I was like, man, I feel like there aren't really any famous like And
Yeah,
award-winning
Lucky Liz.
sci-fi authors from St. Louis, and then Ann Leckie was from St. Louis. I was like, okay, I stand corrected.
She is very, very good. I've not read The Raven Tower. I need to. I read her first series, or her big series, the Hugo winning one, the Ancillary Justice. Any advice for current Pitch Wars mentees?
Current? Ooh, just hang in there.
Yeah. This is the worst. This is the worst part of your life right now. I mean, it is. I mean, Pitch Wars itself is great. I mean, here's what I'll tell you. This is the advice. If you look at the chat, right? Kat Henkel, who else? Kat and Kyle Kerr. Those are my classmates from 2015 Pitch Wars, and they're here tonight watching this. And that's just super cool. And it's better than anything else that you're going to get from Pitch Wars. It's the only thing that matters is the relationships that you make. Everything else, look, your book, I mean, you got the help editing the book, and it's someone's going to buy it or they're not. You're going to get an agent or you're not. And that may or may not have anything to do with you. It might not be. The best writers are not going to be the ones who are the most who get agents necessarily. And then the ones who get agents right away may not be the ones who are successful later. One of the most successful people in my Pitch Wars class did not get an agent with her Pitch Wars book. Right?
Yeah, I mean, you should just see it as a way to make new friends who understand the same struggles that you are, that are at the same stage that you are. It's a chance for you to learn about revising book with critique from somebody else. And it may or may not be this book. The dark secret of publishing is you're only as good as your last book. So even if you do awesome with this book, you're going to have to write another book and then another one after that. Like, you have to keep going. So Pitch Wars is like a training ground, like where you learn how to do this and you meet other people who will critique for you in the future, and maybe you guys will blurb each other's books one day, etc. So it's good to build those relationships and to get practice at that. Yeah,
and it is. And then I guess my other piece of advice for this part of Pitch Wars is don't sweat the agent round. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Half the people who get agents will not get them from the Pitch Wars agent round. Half will, half won't. I didn't at all. I got one request. It didn't matter. It doesn't matter. You're going to query. Right. You have a better book, and hopefully you've learned something. So even if this book doesn't work, you can write the next one, and it'll be better. But yeah, you're about to watch people freak out. Okay, yeah, so when the agent round happens, people are just going to freak out.
Yeah, it gets very tense, and it's funny because when Mike and I co-mentored together, it was always around this stage when we would have the talk with the mentees, like, hey, and I famously gave it to you once upon a time. It's like, hey, you are probably not going to get like any requests or anything like that. So just like if you get one, total victory, and just expectation setting. Like no one is going to fly to your city and like come see you that day. And part of this is just, the type of stuff that we are writing, but just don't let the hype get you caught up too much. Just your job is to work hard on your book and to plan to query widely when you are allowed to after the agent round. So that's
there you go. This is another take on Pitch Wars. From Kyle. I loved Kyle's book, man. He wrote this book called Sparkle Prep. I loved it, man. I to this day, it just pains me that nobody picked that book up. I think it belongs in the world. It would be perfect, like for people to binge watch on some kind of Netflix series. It was funny. It was basically about a gay prep school. I mean, it wasn't a gay prep school, but it was a bunch of gay guys at a prep school. But it was like Mean Girls, except with gay guys at prep school. It was. I liked it a lot. I don't know why the world is wrong about books. Here's one. Do you use any real? I guess we're running out of time. Oh, well, we'll do one more question. Any real world cities? Kandahar for me. Kandahar, Afghanistan was the basis for Kappa base in PlanetSide. But other than that, no.
I've used, for some reason, I always end up in the West and Southwest. I've used like Las Vegas and Phoenix, are both cities I had visited somewhat recently before I wrote those books. And so that's a good question. I mean,
well, your book is set in modern day America or
yeah.
near future America. So obviously you're going to use.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. I mean, that's always going to happen. Hey, that reminds me of something I made Sarah do. So I was going to talk a little bit about the as we wrap up. I have there's this artist I know, Eldon Ardiente, who does these incredible dragon sculptures and drawings and stuff. And Sarah, can you pull up one of those? I sent Sarah a couple of these. These sketches, this is like one of the dragons from my book that I could never do because I'm not a talented artist. But I've commissioned some cool pieces of art from this person. One of them is my Twitter background. But I will offer if anybody is still here and listening and watching, if you send me your address, I'll send you a little. I have like these book plates made that I sign that are dragon sketches made by very talented artists. So I'm putting that on the table for anyone who's watched this long, because we appreciate you. Oh yeah, that's the other one. That's my new background, also by Eldon Ardiente, super talented artist. So
those are cool.
I like seeing that, and it's funny because I did something with him. I had him like do dragon sketches like the one we saw, like 4 or 5 years ago when I was still working on the book, like kind of to keep me motivated and stuff. And then like I went away for 3 years from his point of view, and then I came back like I was like, guess what? Finally, this is happening. So I need another dragon. So art is cool. I wish I were better at it.
Yeah, I have no talent for that. So tell everyone where they can find your book. You're doing a thing with your indie, right?
Yeah. So you can find my books anywhere. I was going to mention that I am signing copies for my local bookstores here and in my original hometown of St. Louis. My bookshop here is called The Book Loft of German Village. You can get a signed copy if you order from them. And my bookstore in St. Louis is called Left Bank Books. So if you order from one of them, they will get you one that has like a signed book plate in it already. So good hope. Just thought I'd mention that.
Oh well, Sarah's working from the background. Hey, something else I would like to mention: if you're an author and you have to do one of these, hire Sarah.
Yes,
hire Sarah Nicholas to run it for you. Yeah, she's really good at it, and it makes it really easy.
Sarah's super organized. We did an event with her not a while back, and just so useful to have that level of organization done.
And just knows how to make everything work and fling links up on the screen while you're talking about them and stuff like that.
We have no idea how to do any of this stuff.
She taught us earlier today. We had a class.
Yes.
All right. Hold on. Wait, I got one more. Do you think the story of the Patriots will having a winning team again? Oh. That's funny. That's funny. The first time your Bills are in the playoffs since like what? Since you lost 4 Super Bowls in a row, and now you're going to come talk crap. I appreciate it though. Thanks for coming by.
No, I'm
rooting for the Bills, man. I promise.
I have a serious question I want to ask you, like the final question, because you said Colonyside is the end, but is that the end of Carl Butler, or do you think we're going to see him again?
How much is Harper going to offer me for it? I mean, that's seriously. I mean, not to be mercenary, but that's the answer, right? I would say that that's the end. It is intended to be the end. There are certainly no books under contract for that.
I keep doing the prequel. See, I'm always telling Mike, like, do the prequel. I want to see why is he so famous or infamous? Tell me all those things. So I'm always pushing for the prequel.
I don't know. I mean, I think there's some there's some very real financial reasons why there could be a PlanetSide 4.
Okay.
I mean,
or a 0.5. We're gonna have to.
They're good, or anything. But I don't have the intention of writing that. But that said, this spring, my publisher and I will have a conversation about what I want to write, and then what they want me to write, and then that will be a negotiation that could end
Okay.
a whole bunch of different ways. I have an idea. I actually came up with an idea for it. So,
Oh, good.
I mean, if I had to write it, I'll tell you about it. Not here. I don't want to share it.
All right. Cool. Well, we should wrap up. Thanks for
Yeah.
man. This was a lot of fun.
Thank you for coming. Thank you, Dan, for doing this, and for all you people who
came out. This is awesome.
For everybody who, while the world was doing what the world does over the last couple of days, wanted to spend an hour with us.
It's good to see our
we really appreciate you.
And famous people we know, like Brenda Drake, showing up and just being here for us. So
how cool is that?
It's probably like one of Brenda's assistants posing as Brenda, but we'll still.
I feel like that's probably true. I feel like she has a person for that. There's like a lot of alter ego Brendas. Oh, that'd be a cool story. That would be a cool. Well, it's like Orphan Black, right? There's so many different. Have you seen that?
Just the first one.
Okay, it's really good. We're going to watch it. Oh, Sarah texted her to remind her.
All right, cool.
All right,
thanks.